All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody, to another Games Talk Live, episode number 146, I believe. Welcome to another episode, another year. Happy New Year, everybody. And it's great to be here finally. First show of the new year, and me and Hargeet cannot wait to talk about games and yeah, just all kinds of stuff. We'll get into it. But first, I want to just introduce my co-host, of course, Hargeet. How are you, my friend? New year, new you? Same you.
No, save me, but Happy New Year, everyone. I can even turn on the nice little fireworks. I have the nice little fireworks background. Ding! There you go.
There
Happy
you
New Year,
go.
everyone. Hopefully, everybody had a
Nice.
good Christmas and whatever holidays you celebrate out there. Hopefully, you'll have a good year this year. We'll see how things go.
Yeah,
Certainly had some odd things happen on New Year's, but well,
it was a great,
hopefully that's the end of that.
great holiday for me and my family. We had a good time. Um, you know, got a new coffee pot, coffee maker.
Nice.
I've wanted one for a while. My old one was just a piece of junk, and I was able to get a new one, and it's nice, and it does all kinds of new stuff. It's coffee pots nowadays just do so much more than they used to. I'm just used to brewing a cup of coffee, or a pot of coffee. Now it's like, oh, do you want iced coffee? Do you want this? We brew at different temperatures. Do you want hot water? It's different, but I like it. It's cool. Anyways, we're not here to talk about coffee. This is not Coffee Talk Hour with Hargeet and Jay Fonzarelli. No, it's Games Talk Live. Yeah, as far as gaming goes, Hargeet, what have you been playing this holiday?
So I've played. Am I still on mute? Hopefully not on mute, right? Okay, so yeah, I've played quite a few games. But right now I'm going through Yakuza Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. So that one is a long game, and it's taking its time. So I don't even know how many hours I'm in. I don't even know how far in I am. But I am going through the game. So
Enjoying it? Enjoying it, I hope?
Mostly it's so I like the original Yakuza formula a little bit better than the turn-based thing, because you have more control over the action.
Yep.
So I just don't. Turn-based is okay. It's just I find it much easier to say, well, I'm just gonna go here and then attack this person. And, like there's actually like a mini game section that's a really long section, where you do get to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is back to the way I like it, because I can run around and hit the person I want to, and then run away for a second, and then come back, and right. So it's much better for me. I like the being able to control the action, but whatever. Some people like turn based. And then have you played any of the new ones? I know you played
No,
Zero, right?
no. I played Zero a
So
long time ago.
so Zero, like the main protagonist is supposed to be Kiryu, right? And Kiryu is a serious mafia type dude, right? The protagonist in the new ones is kind of not, and so so he's good, but he's not the same level, and you can really see the distinction, right? And so like it's just a different feel. This one has both, and you can kind of see the tonal difference between Kiryu and the new protagonist, Ichiban. So it's like that part of it kind of throws you a little off, but it's fun enough. But yeah, that like this story is good enough, so we're going through it.
That's good.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but
they
yeah,
usually have
so
a really good narrative in those games, I've
yeah,
heard.
they do,
So,
they do.
you're
Yeah,
playing it in Japanese?
I so
No?
I am playing it in Japanese.
Okay.
I said, okay, now part of it, the game starts in Japan. Then you go to Hawaii, right? And I'm like, okay, when it goes to Hawaii, I'm gonna try to switch it to English, right? Just because hey, everybody else around is gonna be in English, so I'll just change it to English. And no offense to the guy, but like I heard Kiryu with the voice actor being young, yeah, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't do
Yeah, look, and it's no offense to the guy because I mean he's done great work elsewhere,
it. I
but
just
for
can't do
this character, yeah, he doesn't sound right because I've heard his
it. It doesn't sound.
rendition, and then I've listened to the Japanese version, totally
Yeah.
different voices.
Totally different. Like it's
Like,
like taking James Earl Jones and then like Chris, what's it, Chris Tucker, like
yeah,
no, it's just, no,
yeah,
sorry,
doesn't work.
it's not,
Doesn't
it's
work.
not happening. Sorry.
By the
So
way,
I just
Yodani in
I
the
couldn't
chat
take
says
it in my
Happy
head.
New
I'm like,
Year
"Nope."
to us. Happy New Year, Yodani. Good to see you, man. Good to see Biff Rinaldi in the chat. Good to see Cullen Prime, Rachy. I saw Web Dave there for a second. Good to see Web Dave. Gotta have Web Dave on the show sometime. Been on his show recently, and yeah, I would love to have him on. Talk to him. Have him on, talk to him about stuff, see what he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
up to.
It's my co-host on another show, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
one of
Tomorrow you'll be on his show. Yeah. You, and it was funny because even when we did the show on Sundays, you would go do his show right after. And then now you're part of the show. So that's great. What happened to the other guy that used to do the show with him, Retri?
Retri, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
he just sort of took a backseat of podcasting altogether, right? So
Oh,
family
gotcha.
stuff. He's like, I'm just out for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't, right? But
Sounds like dealer. Yeah. Took a back seat
no,
and just said,
yeah,
"Damn, I'm going to go
man.
do my own thing for a while."
See if he ever comes back. We'll
Which,
see.
by the way, I did hear from him over the holidays, sending
Oh,
message,
cool.
happy holidays messages back and forth. He's doing good. So just to let everybody know, update on him. He's doing well. No timeline on when he'll be back, if he'll be back, to be honest, but the guy is doing well. He's living life. So
Awesome.
that is good. As for me and gaming, Path of Exiles 2. When I tell you this game has like taken over all other games, everything, like I've put down Rebirth. I'm not playing anything else right now but Path of Exile. And that's because it's just, I mean, it's addictive. I can tell you that right off the bat. For an ARPG though, it has got so much content in a pre-release that's not even finished. I mean, this is like not even a little bit of the game in, I mean, when you compare it to what we've seen coming, there's still 6 more characters coming.
You play one?
There's like a bunch of like a city maker, and like you can build your own villages and stuff. Like
Oh my
there's
goodness.
crazy stuff coming to the game. But right now it's like you get through a 3-act campaign, which I've done twice because you have to do it twice. You get to the end game then, and it's maps. So as you're in maps, you're basically going through a tiered system, and every tier is just stronger bosses, stronger enemies, and there's 15 of those. Then there's pinnacle bosses. So I have gone through all 15 tiers. I am just farming the 15th tier now over and over to get stuff you need to fight the pinnacle bosses. And that's where I'm at now. And I'm telling you, the game is awesome. If you like Diablo, I would say try this game, and don't let people scare you away from it and tell you that it's too hard. It is. I would say it's more difficult than Diablo, but not extremely difficult. And once you get to know the skill tree and you look at it and you really study it and say, oh, okay, I can take this path and do this with my character, because it's pretty open-ended. It lets you develop your character the way you want it to be developed. Like you don't have to necessarily say, okay, I'm playing as a ranger, so I have to only stick to doing this shooting arrows. You can do other things. You can spec a little bit into spells. You can do what you want. And that's what I love about this game. Really good stuff, man.
Did you play one?
No, yes, I did. I tried it. I got so intimidated by it. And the other part of it too is one is like a 13-year-old game, and it's got so much going on in it already that it's so intimidating. If you like, for instance, I know somebody who played it and put thousands of hours into it. Oh no, it's Alex, him. And he told me, he goes, hey, if you need help, I'll let you know. And then he told me a few things to download just to play the game. Download Path of Building, download this, download that, download. I'm like, bro, that's a lot of stuff to download just to play a game. Like I just got so overwhelmed that I was like, nah, I'm just going to wait for 2 because I know it'll be a little bit slower process getting into it. And it is. I mean, you're starting from the bottom, and there is a lot there, but it's nowhere near like PoE right now. So it's really good. I'm really enjoying that game. It currently right now, because I consider it a 2025. It's early release, but I consider it 2025 game really, because it's only been out a few weeks. I would say it's my game of the year so far. It's I know it's early, but so far, even though it's an early
Yeah,
release, it's not even out.
so a couple of friends of mine, we started PoE, the first one, because it's available, right? So we
Nice.
tried that. So yeah, it's so far so good. It wasn't bad, right? It's you know, a co-op. You get to play together. It was, you know, reasonably good. Um, the PoE 2 thing is you have to pay for it, which I'm not averse to. But I was like researching,
Yes.
can I do crossplay or not? Because I like
Yeah,
when
you
we
can.
played.
You can do crossplay.
Yeah, so PoE, I don't think you can. PoE 2, you can, right? And so PoE, um, when I tried to set the settings, right, it looked like shit when you really bumped it up, and I'm like, well, I've got this PC sitting here that can run everything, right? So why don't I try it on PC? They're like, oh, apparently, you would not be able to play with Xbox or PlayStation users. Xbox and PlayStation users can play against each other in PoE, but not PC.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. But PoE 2, apparently, it's everyone, so that's awesome.
And one of the biggest things
So
about PoE too is like there's a whole huge community from PoE, of course, and there's like a trade community. So they allow you to trade items within game. So like I've gotten deep into that. They have a whole website on the trading aspect, and you can find
wow.
things within the world to trade for certain things in the world. And like I even do it on this video here where I've got some gameplay up where I'm just mapping and somebody hits me up, hey, I'd like to trade for your item, you know, and I go stop what I'm doing, go and do that, trade, get some freaking really valuable currency in the game. Uh, it's just, it's really cool, very immersive, and it's just a really, really fun
And I
game.
assume you're playing on PC, correct?
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay, yeah,
like I
yeah.
said, you can play on Xbox, PC,
I see a
PlayStation.
lot of a lot of folks in the community are playing PoE 2. You know,
Yep.
another friend who's playing PoE 2 a lot. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's kind of a cool game. So I don't know if the early access thing bugs me because you never know what things are going to be A, broken, but B, things that you just don't have, right? They might have all
Yeah.
sorts of you know, new content that's
Oh, I
available when
totally
the
get you,
game
bro.
finally releases, and
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I'll maybe just wait until it comes out, and then play it. But
Yeah. I
do we
mean,
do we have a time frame? Do they have a time frame?
no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there
Okay.
is. But what I will say though is it runs, I mean, it performs really well for early access and stuff. It
Yeah.
feels like a full-fledged game. It really does.
Yeah.
Sure, there's been a few bugs I've encountered. Enemies just kind of sitting there frozen sometimes, not doing anything. It's rare, but it happens. I used to get a
Yeah.
couple of crashes here and there, but I changed from, I think it was a problem between my computer and DirectX 12. Because when I switched to Vulkan, it was fine. I didn't have any issues after that. But yeah, I'm having a blast with it. It's a great game. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about Xbox. Xbox just got some good news via Digital Foundry. Apparently, they got game graphics of the year, and not just one game, but two. And we're talking number one and number two. So number one, of course, is Hellblade 2. And we all kind of saw that coming because Hellblade 2 is definitely probably the best looking game I've seen in a long time. It's really impressive what they've done for that. The other one kind of surprises me though. I'll be totally honest. Like I have not played Indiana Jones and the Great Circle yet, but everything I've seen from it, even on PC and everything, I don't look at it and go, wow, that's a looker. But for some reason, Digital Foundry says otherwise, and they've got it at number two as best looking game of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think about those choices, Hargeet?
I like them. The only ones that would potentially displace them for me, again, I have not played Final Fantasy. I haven't played Metaphor. I doubt that would be in that category. What else has been kind of in that realm? Third party, I don't know. I know this Flight Sim.
Wukong is out there. It's a
And
good looking
again, that's a
game, but
very
yeah,
it's good enough, but I don't think it's at that I don't know. It is pretty good. It is pretty good. But Flight Sim would be the other one that comes to mind, and then Call of Duty, which nobody ever seems to recognize Call of Duty, but I mean, it's a pretty good looking game, and It was one of the best Call of Duties
It does look really good.
in
Call of
modern
Duty is a
times.
looker. It's always been.
Yeah, and nobody ever seems to recognize the fact that it's that stellar. It is a good game, but like, yeah, they're just like, whatever. It's like a sports game. Nobody cares, right? But it's like, no, you really should give it its due. But yeah, so I think those are the ones that would come to mind. Maybe there's others that I'm just missing.
Leo in the chat says
But
Silent Hill 2, and I'd say yes and no on that one, Leo. I would say parts of it do look really good, and then other parts just kind of fall flat for me. Kind of like Indiana Jones when I look at it. Tell me about that one for you. I mean, do you really see that?
First I'll say Silent Hill 2. My issue with Silent Hill 2 is simply that it's a remake. To be fair, we should be okay with that, but I cringe when you take a remake instead of something that's new. I kind of want to see it on new stuff, but I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I had to shut a window.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
too loud.
and I shouldn't take away from it. Like the RE remakes, for instance, they have some really great graphics and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, dude, it's a remake. Like I want to give it to somebody who's doing a new thing, and then maybe that's unfair. Maybe that's unfair, and that's just my bias, I guess. I don't know, but so that's why I cringe at Silent Hill 2, only because it's a remake. If it was Silent Hill, the new game, yeah, absolutely, let's look at it. But that just kind of like it would be the same thing as saying Last of Us 2 remaster, remake, whatever. It's like, dude, that game came out in 2013. It's had its chance. GTA 5, the 50 millionth time version edition that it comes out. Like, dude, no, like, stop. I don't care. Like, let's get new stuff to get these awards. It's my feeling. As far as indie, you haven't played it, so you don't like. It's path traced. It's it's got some really good scenery as far as the game. Like, so
okay.
I don't know how to make this like. So essentially, the fact that they made it like you are in an indie movie,
yeah,
like the ambiance, the way they have it, yeah, I would give it that due. I think it is in one of those top looking games, and it's not about the fact that it's like the graphics are stellar, clean, and no, it's the fact that it's not. It feels like a movie, right? It's like you're watching like Temple of Doom. It's like that's what it feels like. And so they did a very good job of making it like an Indiana Jones movie. And I think that's why it does deserve that. And again, it's got all the bells and whistles. It's the id Tech engine, right? So they do a phenomenal job of taking advantage of the hardware. And I played this on PC, full everything. So so it does look pretty good. It's too bad you don't want to try it. I think you might like it. It has a little bit of a Ubisoftness to it, so you might.
Oh
enjoy
no,
it.
I didn't say I wasn't going to try it. One day I will try it. Right now I'm just stuck on Path of Exiles 2, man. I don't see myself getting off of Path of Exiles until at least February. Like, to be honest, like there's so much to do in this game. So many classes to play through. I've got 2 other classes that I'm playing through the campaign and everything and getting them into endgame as well. Denny Passion Official, thank you for the 2. He says, Fonz, I started streaming on YouTube finally. Nice. I did catch one of your streams, but it was after you already streamed it. And yeah, I was watching you play Path of Exiles, by the way. He's into the game as well. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be playing it, man. It like apparently is taking over a lot of people's life. So
nice.
It's got to be pretty good, man.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, with Indiana Jones, I can get what you're saying about the whole movie aspect. It's got that cinematic look. But again, there's like certain aspects of it when I see like I don't know how it is when you're playing the game, but watching people play it, like looking at the arms, sometimes they look a little long and the hands look a little small sometimes. I don't know. It just looks kind of weird sometimes to me. But
yeah, but it plays
nitpicking.
It plays well.
But hey, who am I to say it's not best looking game or one of the best looking games of the year? Digital Foundry says otherwise, and they pixel people like nobody's business. So
yeah,
they're hard to.
Yeah, I mean
argue
the
with.
lighting, all that stuff it really is, and good. It actually does have path tracing, all that stuff, so you can really turn it, like crank it up all the way, so you get everything. And yeah, it definitely it looks good, especially since you're like delving into caves and all that stuff, and then the lighting doing all its things correctly. Like, yeah, it's
That's nice.
it's
Oh, so
pretty good.
I'm taking it you've played it on PC with the path ray tracing and
Oh yeah,
everything.
I played it on PC because I could turn everything on. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
hell yeah, because they gave you that like path tracing option. I'm like, oh yeah, we're turning this on. I'm gonna crank this up to max.
Yep.
If you turn on DLAA, my PC, everything, I got 30 frames, but
Whoa. Yeah. And
it cranks, dude. It kills your system. They do everything. So I had to turn it back to DLSS normal, right? So I could get like 60 to 100 frames. I was averaging about 70 frames, but yeah, no, it does take advantage of the machine. So like, yeah, it's it's pretty good.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how like and we're going to get into a bit of that talk on the technical aspect of games a little bit later with a different topic. But yeah, I mean, good for them for getting some I guess accolades for something, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I know Melinda, excuse me, Melinda,
yeah, right.
uh, she got best voice actress for her role in Hellblade 2, and that's
Well, I mean,
great.
she's really the actor, right? It's her face, everything.
Yeah, it's
That's
her.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she acted in the game. Um, best looking path tracing has Cyberpunk and best performance. Oh, Christopher K said best looking path tracing. So yeah, Cyberpunk has the best path ray
Pretty
tracing for
good,
sure.
man. And they just totally snubbed that one too. Like whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Um, outside of that, by the way, I heard our good friend Jez Corden of Windows Central has come out and stated that he's seen a patent that Xbox will be finally coming with a new controller with the haptic feedback similar
For the
to the
old thing, right?
DualSense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so apparently you'll be able to, it'll be able to be tuned to mimic sounds like motion and sounds, motion, and feel within the gaming experience, kind of like what we did with the dual motion. I was never a big fan of it, to be honest, even with the DualSense until Astrobot. Then when I felt like the raindrops hitting the controller as I'm playing, I felt like the ice underneath me as I'm playing the game. Like, it's really immersive stuff. Um, I totally see that, and I'm good with that. But you couple that with the staggered analog sticks of the Xbox controller, and that is a win. That is a win. Because I love the staggered sticks. That's my favorite controller. So that's awesome that they're gonna actually come out with that. You excited for that? You excited?
Um, I just like so. I guess the thing that's good about them doing it is that now both major consoles will have it.
Mm-hmm.
There were, what do they call it? Like haptic triggers, I think, on the Switch, something like that. They do have some
Yeah.
haptics. And so like if all the consoles do it, then third parties are more inclined to utilize it, right? So right now it's gimmicky. Every now and then somebody will take advantage of it. Outside of like you mentioned, Astro, somebody like that will, it would have to take a game like that to take advantage of it. It's like then it's just pointless, right? Now, look, the first party catalog of Xbox is now pretty substantial, so it's viable that enough of their first party could take advantage of it. That's fine. But I would like to see third parties take advantage of it. So if that comes and then both of them have it, you're probably more likely to see that get taken advantage of as far as a feature set within a lot of games, right? So we'll see. Let's see if it's of value or not. For the little bit that I had the PlayStation 5, I hated the trigger thing. I hated it. But their triggers suck anyways, right? But I hated like the triggers fighting your hands. That was just terrible.
Yeah, I don't like that
But like the
aspect. I
haptics
still
was
don't.
okay.
Yeah, even with
Yeah,
Astrobot, I didn't care for it. But
yeah. I just
the
that was so
the
irritating.
the little speaker in there, just and the
Ugh.
haptics to it and everything, it works so good,
Yeah,
so
the
good.
haptics was okay. The speaker, I don't know if it like
It
it
depends on the
wasn't
game.
very clear,
It's
and
it's
like and
it's
so
good in games, like I said, with Astrobot and the raindrops, and the speaker worked great for that. But
yeah.
like when you hear talking through it and stuff, it's only good if, say, you're talking to somebody that's like on supposed to be in the game on like I don't know, CB radio or a walkie-talkie or
Yeah, right.
something.
Or
Then
it's
it kind of
crappy.
sounds good. But
Yeah, the
outside of
other thing was
that,
like you could drop the volume in the game and it wouldn't do it on the
yeah.
speaker. And you could like I like the little nuances like that, right? It's just like, meh,
But the
okay.
triggers, yeah, I'm with
I
you.
didn't like it.
I don't even bother.
Just it's the same as the was it the DS or whichever one of the portable Nintendos, they started having that like that speaker, like, oh my god, just stop this. Like
Said,
I would disable it. I hate it. So I don't know. It's okay, right? But the haptics, I wouldn't mind. It doesn't change it for me. So it's like fine if it's there, that's cool. Um, the trigger thing, I have no interest.
yeah,
I'm not interested in the trigger thing at
yeah,
all.
me too.
What I don't want, most importantly, is a 2-hour battery life. Uh,
Oh,
I
nobody
want the
does.
thing. So I love the battery life of the current controllers, especially with the Elite. It's 30 plus hours, right? I literally could leave it out and keep playing for
That's what
days,
I've
no
heard.
problem. It's
That's
so
really
good.
good.
And then you can like just plop it in its cradle, and so it comes with a carry case, right? So that carry case just has a charging right in within it. So you just put it back in the case, and it starts charging again. Yeah, that thing is fantastic. So that's the thing I don't want to lose. So it's got to not do that, right? Beyond that, whatever they put in, That's fine. And I think they basically like this was supposed to be a mid-gen thing, and then they finally just I'm sure decided, hey, you know what? Let's just cleanly do this at the next gen, and we'll introduce the feature set then. Makes sense. That's fair
Yeah,
enough,
totally makes
right?
sense.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Now it's not all sunshine and rainbows at Xbox lately.
Oh,
Recently, I've seen an uproar with Xbox fans concerning game science and their
oh,
game
well,
Black
game
Myth
science and
Wukong.
game science.
Okay, so apparently they're pointing at the Series S and stating that, and this is kind of a twofold issue. This is not even really just about the Series S, but a lot of people are running with that, right? So as
Yeah.
we know, the Series S has caused some issues for some games with optimization because of the 10 gigs of VRAM on board. It's pretty paltry when it comes to gaming these days. However, most companies, developers seem to get around it, seem to be able to put their games out on it just fine. We had Baldur's Gate 3 had an issue with the split screen and it couldn't be done. And so Xbox just gave them the go and said, hey, forget about parity with that split screen. Just get the game out there. And they did, and plays great. Just doesn't have a split screen on Series S. That's fine. Game science, however, though, is the other problem with this situation is game science themselves are pretty much telling everybody that, hey, we're just not that experienced to work with this. And that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to, Hargeet. It's the lack of experience with these developers. And I
Yep.
fear this is a bigger issue. And I think it'll become a bigger issue as time goes on with all of these companies kind of switching to Unreal Engine 5 and really relying on these AI features. And this is something that I was alluding to months ago when I was actually reached Jason Jason Ronald, who helped build, the Series X and everything. He actually hit me up because he saw one of my tweets talking about developers using these AI features as crutches, and he wanted to know my point on that and what I was talking about. And, he schooled me on a lot of areas because, of course, Jason Ronald, he's the Jason Ronald. He's very smart, very tech savvy, knows his stuff. But I see an issue into where these developers are starting to look at these things as, and not only developers, publishers as well. They like it because their games get out faster. They want easier, faster. They want these games to come out at a much faster cadence, and I get it. But at the same time, you are getting rid of so many different proprietary engines out there in favor of engines like Unreal Engine 5. If we get more and more developers adopting Unreal Engine 5 and just abandoning their red engine, say CDPR, they got their red engine. Or if, let's say, Obsidian decides, hey, or is it Obsidian? No, let's say Machine Games decides, hey, we're not going to use id Tech. We're going to use Unreal Engine 5. That stuff goes away. You don't have those engines that these skilled, experienced developers have been working with for so long and know the ins and outs of all these things. Instead, we're going to be in a world where all the developers are using this Unreal Engine that has so many AI features and so many things that does the work for them. You're going to get less skilled developers out there. This is the way I see it. Am I jumping the gun with that a bit? I don't know.
So look, UE is going to be a big engine, and Unity is still a big engine. The case here, you're not wrong in that if everybody does one thing, then you're kind of stuck. You don't want to have too many people on just UE. You want to have competition. Look, Call of Duty exists. It's going to continue with the Call of Duty engine, which is a derivative of id Tech anyway. In id Tech engine, I hope that id would always continue to use it. Machine Games is kind of latched onto that as well, so that's good. But like there are other engines out there, right? Sony uses several different engines. Forza Tech still exists, right? So you have several other engines out there. I don't know what's going to happen with the creation engine that Bethesda uses. If they're going to move over, Halo unfortunately is moving away from their what was it, Blam, which became
Slipstream,
Space, I think.
Slipspace, yeah,
Slipstream.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever
something
the
like
heck they
that.
call their
Yeah,
new one, and then they're gonna move over to UE. Coalition always started with it, right? So Gears was basically one of the showpieces, like Unreal, Unreal what is it? Unreal Tournament, whatever. Unreal, the game that actually existed, and that the engine came after it. It was named after it. So yeah, it's kind of always been on that. Hellblade, right? So Ninja Theory's been kind of on the Unreal train for a while. It's a give and take. Some of these developers have their own, some of them don't. But and there's plenty with EA, for instance, they have their own stuff and et cetera, et cetera. So you do want to have variety, and there's variety out there. In the game, case of game science, you've nailed it. They don't have the prerequisite knowledge to do this. As you played it on PC, and it was killing your system,
oh,
right?
it had a memory leak at the time. I don't know if it still does.
Yeah,
It had
this is
issues.
just this is the tech part of it that they just don't know. They don't have the know-how. And normally what you do is you go to the industry, and there are plenty of third parties out there that will help you do it. Problem, they're in China. This is like, for those who don't understand this, China is an entity on its own.
Yeah.
So whenever you do any global work, there's everybody else on the planet except for those handful of countries that are restricted by our government. Like Iran and all those countries, whatever, right? North Korea. Outside of that, and then you have China. Like, so everything you have to do with China is different, and China will not allow them to use any third party unless that third party is also registered in China. So they can't just go hire some consulting company to say, "Hey, can you make the port for us?" Which is what normally happens. Remember that game with the Inatria, right? That
Yeah.
a European developer. So they had to get the funds to just hire somebody to port it, right? That was all they had to do. And they're like, okay, we got the funds. We're going to hire somebody to port it, right? That was what they had to do. And then they were getting certification issues, right? But that's what they did. They just find somebody else who knows how to do this stuff. Take my game. Here's the code. Port it onto that system, right? They'll handle the tech part of it. You don't have to do it, right? And that exists. There's industry experts all over the place. The problem is with China. Um, so I feel bad for game science. They don't have the know-how, and I don't necessarily expect them to. Look, if you're a graphics arts guy, right? You're just, that's all you know what to do. I make images. I put them into the game engine, and it just works, right? And they expect the game engine to handle the rest. They don't know how to get into the innards of it and make it work, right? So you need people like that who understand the innards of this and can then make the game work on whatever hardware. And obviously, if it's killing your system, which is about as high end as it gets, that's they need somebody to optimize. So this is just kind of where they are. They admit it. They like, we don't know how to do this. We need years of experience to do that. We just don't have it.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out what to do. Fair enough. Now, in the other part of this, could there have been some deal with Sony? Apparently, there was some deal because they lent them some PlayStation engineers to go help them port it, right? And that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't know what the parameters of that deal are. Could there be some, window of exclusivity? Possibly. It's not unheard of for Sony to do that, right? That's what they do all the time. Could it just be, no, we just want to give you the know-how with our folks, and we'll be able to help you get it onto our system, and you can then put it on PlayStation. Fair enough. Again, I don't know what the parameters are. I know there was something because they did actually have PlayStation folks help them make
Yeah,
the
they
port
did.
over to PlayStation. So fair enough, right? And again, it's there could have been cross communication issues with the Chinese developer not speaking appropriately to Microsoft to say, can you help us too? Or they're like, oh no, we kind of understand, and I don't know
Yeah,
what happened there,
I
right?
really don't think they're skilled enough
So
on their own. I think Sony did help them
fair
out
enough.
with that to get it out
Yeah.
on their platform right away. They had that deal going on with them as well. But at the end of this, it's like it's my worry that with hearing about all these different studios ditching their proprietary engines for Unreal Engine 5, that it's going to become one of those things where you're going to get less skilled developers.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes with the territory. We've grown the industry a lot, right? We have a lot more developers out there. And B, the development timeframe it is so long now that you kind of wait to the end to do something like optimization, and you don't have the time to do it because you've already spent so much time, right? And it's like, well, the investment's already made. Now get this game out.
Yep.
So that's
And
kind
that's a
of unfortunately
problem.
where we are.
And
It totally is.
and the thing is and you're going to get a lot of developers because most companies are now using UE5. You're going to get a lot of developers in training that are just going to look to UE5 and say, okay, I'm going to learn this,
You do
and
it,
that's
right?
it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, it's crazy that a lot of people aren't looking at the bigger picture. I think it's not good that everybody is going to UE5. Like, there's a lot of people that were championing that in the beginning, especially saying, "Oh, it's great. UE5 has amazing graphics and everything." It's like, well, think of the less skilled workers you're going to have, because they are doing this not for the betterment of the game or us. They're doing this to cut down on that time it takes to get the game to you. And you might not think that's a bad thing until the game gets to you and it's not in a good state.
There's two sides to that. In some ways, you might be right, but on the flip side, there would be more and more of those third parties available that know UE5 and can then do that work for you, right? You can say, "Hey, I'll pay you 200K. You take my game and optimize it on everything." Right? That's your specialty. You go do that, right? So you should hopefully find a market solution that says, "Oh, you're on UE5. Sure, no problem. We know how to make that optimize on PC, on PS, and Nintendo and Xbox, right?
Yeah.
We'll take care of that for you. Here's our normal go rate. If there's contingencies, we'll deal with it, right? But so that might hopefully help, right? Actually bridge the gap. But we'll see, right? This is kind of also new. As you're saying, most people were doing things on their own. UE has now grown into that. Unity's been there for a while, but most people just throw things on mobile with Unity, and so it just kind of works, right? It's not, the optimization thing isn't really there. It just kind of works. So as far as UE though, it pushes the graphics, right? So it's really pushing the system, and therefore you do actually have to kind of tune things, unfortunately. So that is kind of where it's running into issues. But again, hopefully the market will resolve that, and you'll have people that I have the tech know-how,
You
hire
know,
me, and I'll do that for you, right? That's the thing that should happen, hopefully.
I think it's funny. Albert G in the chat says literally almost every Xbox fanboy wanted Xbox to go Unreal Engine 5, and now y'all are saying this is a bad idea. Hold up. First of all, you're not talking to Xbox fanboys. And also, when we were on RDX, Hargeet, I distinctly remember you warning people about Unreal Engine 5's
Yes.
and its optimization issues, and the fact that it was a
It's
resource
going to have
hog.
issues. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
we've discussed this for years. Like,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
crazy how You could take that somewhere else. Maybe some other podcasts had talked about, hey, we should go on Unreal Engine 5 and let's just go
Yeah, we had
no, no. We've been
intense
talking about it for a
discussions, like
long time.
Zocker, me, D. We
Yep.
were saying like, look out, because this thing is a hog,
Yep.
and you're gonna be playing 30 frames per second, and you won't like it, because like
And
and we were
and
warning,
that's
like,
yeah. And that's not the
you
only
want these
point to it.
graphics.
The other aspect of it is indeed the AI feature set that pretty much does the work for them. And that's where we're at. Game science themselves, we're not blaming game science. Game science blame themselves.
Yeah.
Did you not read the article?
They
They said that they're not equipped to really deal with this. So it's not us like bashing them. We're just repeating what they're saying. And it's an issue.
Yeah, look, I mean,
So-
over time, this is going to resolve itself, right? Game science is one of the few that's starting to do this, right? Making a global game from China. And, like, hopefully the industry props up and they'll have that ability in China to be able to help them. And other companies that come along and make games that are global, they'll be able to fix that for them. But yeah, unfortunately, this is a teething problem. It's just one of the things I'm very annoyed by the Chinese government. They do these annoying things with red tape that just makes things difficult, right? If they just were a lot more open, then this wouldn't be a problem. They could hire any one of the many people out there that can optimize, right? Even one of the many other publishers out there could lend them some time and say, okay, we got like a team here, Sega or whoever, right? It's like, okay, we can lend you a team that can go, help you optimize this. This is a common industry thing. People do this all the time. Unfortunately for them, it's just a challenge because of the fact that they have all this red tape with the.
And let's be honest too, it's also a challenge because of the 10 gigabytes of VRAM. It's an issue. It's a struggle.
You have to optimize.
You have to
optimize.
Yeah,
No way around.
and I know it can be done, but it takes a lot of time and skill to do it, and it's something they don't have. So it is what it is, man. I don't know what to tell you, Albert. It's what they've said themselves. But yeah, just look out the future of UE5 and these developers going UE5.
Yeah, it's one of my fears about Halo is UE5 looks stunning, absolutely, but I don't care. Right now, Halo Infinite runs 120 frames with ray tracing on my Series X.
Phil himself said, imagine Halo on id Tech. Remember that? I would rather see them use id Tech for Halo.
Yes, id Tech is way better.
id Tech would be perfect for Halo. But no, let's go
like
UE5. Let's go
the other one is COD.
Let's go to an engine we know will have traversal stutter.
Oh yeah.
It makes no sense. Every game has traversal stutter under Unreal Engine 5. Every game. Digital Foundry has said so,
major fear,
and I've seen it.
I don't want it 30 frames, dude.
Yeah,
I want Halo to be like. I love that it's 120 frames, even on Series S.
Yeah, id Tech would have been perfect, man.
It's so good.
Look how good Doom looks and feels and plays. That game is like butter. That's where I wanted them to go, even before the slip space and everything. Slip space was a mistake for sure, but at least they tried something. I can't fault them for trying to do something with a proprietary engine. That's cool that they tried. I'd like to see more proprietary engines out there. I would have liked to seen CD Projekt Red stick with their Red engine or create something else, or just expand on it. But
we'll see what they do with that.
It's this situation where I feel that they're looking at it going, hey, we can get these games out faster and they can look really good. And it's like,
well, I think it's also the investment in the engine, right? Is the engine takes time to make it do all the new fancy things. Whereas you say, well, we'll just offload that to Epic, right? They'll deal with it with Unreal. The problem though is you still end up having to do the tuning, and that requires you to now become an expert in their engine. So we'll see how all that works, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen so many games.
You've got we still got the Decima engine out there that's amazing. Even though I'm not a fan of Horizon games, the Decima engine is beautiful. It just performs well. It works. It's gorgeous. It's a great engine. I like having all these different proprietary engines. Let's move on. Let's talk about the rumor that GTA 6 isn't coming until 2026. This is coming from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. who usually gets a lot of stuff right. He
Yeah.
usually gets a lot of things. He hears things in the background. And for Jason to come out and say he feels like this thing is going to get pushed into 2026, I've already been saying this. I've been saying, don't expect it this year. I've already expected it to go to 2026. I believe that Jason is hearing things, and I think this is going to get pushed back. But just today, Rockstar's come out and said, no, we're still on track for 2025. I have to put that out there. They're saying that, but it's Rockstar. They've said this with Red Dead 2. They've said this with GTA 5, and they still delayed. They delay
Yep.
games, and it is what it is. But if you expect it to come out this year, I would love it, but I don't think it will.
Yeah.
Hargy, what about you? Do you think it'll drop this year?
Dude, it's Rockstar. Am I surprised if it gets delayed? No. I mean, they do it
Yeah.
all. It's been like they've had several delays before. Who cares? When it comes, it comes. Right? It's going to be a phenomenon when it comes. It's going to sell a whole bunch of consoles when it comes.
It will.
So when it comes, it comes. And
And
I
that's
don't.
and that is the reason I've held on to my consoles, GTA 6, because you
Yeah.
know damn well, like there's a lot of PC guys out there that are like, yeah, I'm not going to get a console for that. I'm just going to hold on to my PC. I'll wait for the PC version. And a lot will. I'm not saying they won't, but there are those
Yeah.
guys out there
It's not the
that will
PC
buy
ones
a
that I'm
console
thinking about.
just for
It's
that
it's the
game.
people on PS4 and Xbox One that will finally have a push to go to the new consoles, right?
Yep.
Because up to now they haven't. They haven't. Most of the casual games they still are cross-gen. They don't change. So until there's an impetus, and GTA is going to be the impetus, right? It's going to be one
Most
of those big
here's a
games that
crazy
people will
stat.
want to play.
Most of the best games we've gotten this generation is cross-gen.
Yeah, they're
They're
almost all
cross-gen.
cross-gen. Yeah. So, this is going to be the big impetus that's going to push people over. And so it's going to sell a bunch of consoles across the board. It doesn't matter. And I expect it's also going to come to Nintendo, right? The new Switch. But yeah, it's going to sell everybody's console. And it's going to be a big industry thing. But it gets delayed. That does not shock me. Like
No,
by now, I would have
me either.
expected,
Yeah.
I would have expected them to start the marketing blitz. And I haven't seen it, right? So, we'll see if they by the end of March you don't see anything. I'm gonna have to guess it's actually delayed. They have done the marketing stuff and still delayed it, right? So it doesn't really matter. Like they will delay when they need to delay, and who cares? Like the game is gonna make billions of dollars. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be fine.
No,
So they can take a delay. It doesn't matter. So whatever. It's much better that the game come out good than what we've seen with so many games where just like we were talking, right? It comes out buggy and non-performant. There's no point. Like you might as well just take your time, get it right, have it ready to go, and then put it out when you're ready to go. Like it just doesn't matter. This is just one of those games. It's just one of those
yep.
few games that can take the hit. It just doesn't matter. People are gonna pre-order this thing years ahead of time. They don't care. They'll pre-order it. So it's gonna be fine. They're probably gonna hit 1 billion, 2 billion, like within like a
Oh,
3
it'll
month
be the
period.
biggest selling game we've ever
Ridiculous.
seen, bro. It's
So,
gonna sell so good.
so it just doesn't matter. Let it come out when it comes out. If it needs a delay, it needs a delay. That's fine. And it would not shock me if it gets delayed. It just would not shock me. It's just normal for them.
Speaking of the Switch, the next Switch, whatever they call it, there was a
But
leak
Switch
that
2, right?
happened.
We've seen all
Yeah,
these leaks, right?
yeah. So
Switch
what do you
2.
think about the leaks that we've seen so far? Yeah, do
It's
you know
about
anything
time,
about
right?
it?
That means it's getting close. It's getting close, right? So we see some images, right, of the actual dock, and it actually has like a Switch 2, right? So, we've
What do
seen
you
some
think
images
about
of the
the
machine
power,
itself.
or some people are saying the lack thereof of the Switch 2?
I mean, I don't know if there's lack. I mean, it's gonna be good enough, right? We don't have official specs, and
Yeah, it's
again,
not official.
like we had with previous things like the PS1 Pro, where I'm not gonna play this game of saying I absolutely know what it's gonna do. It's gonna beat
Yeah,
this and beat that. I don't care. I like let it come out and we'll see what it does,
facts.
right? So what I know is that it's Nvidia's chance to say, "Hey, we're in this too. We want to showcase what we can do." And it's going to have some level of DLSS, whether it's 2 or 3 or whatever, right? But whatever they bring to the table, it's going to be something cool, and I hope it does a good enough job to give you reasonable graphics that allows you to play most of the third-party games. So we will see what they pull off, right?
I think
so,
the biggest deal there is DLSS with that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest deal because
And it's going to be a pretty good thing because the other two are good, right? They have a good upscaling capability, but DLSS is just it's leagues ahead.
yeah.
And so if they really bring their A game on this, it's going to be a pretty compelling console. So let's see what they do, right? And if they can pull off getting DLSS 3, right? That's going to be a pretty big game changer. And we'll see what kind of graphics they bring. It's supposed to be RTX 30 level. That's what they're saying. These are the rumors out there. I don't know what level of performance. We'll find out. And then the CPU wise, I think it's 8 cores or 16 cores. I can't remember what it was like. So it's something around that range. But we'll see what they pull off, right? So, but it's a different architecture. It's ARM, not x86. But whatever, right? As long as it gives you the power you need to play games, whatever, right? So we'll see what it pulls off. I'm still excited. The first party catalog of Nintendo is still fantastic. They have a whole bunch of games that are due to come out, including Metroid Prime 4, which we already know about.
Yep.
But there's many others that are due for a new iteration. So there's going to be a huge launch lineup. And, of course, we also know Call of Duty is going to hit it, right? Because they have that 10-year contract. So they're going to get the latest Call of Duty, and then whatever's next, this coming fall, they're going to get that as well. So we'll see what this looks like, but it's going to have games. It's going to have a whole bunch of stuff coming out, and I'm excited to see what we get there. Xbox already has a huge lineup coming out this year. Nintendo's going to have something cool. We'll see what PlayStation pulls off, right? So, but yeah, I mean, third party wise, it's also looking pretty good, right? So it's going to be an interesting year.
I've been kind of out of the loop as of late because like I said, I've been just playing games, playing Path of Exile. I'm not really even bothered with what's going on in the news and everything until this morning I started looking at stuff. But one thing in the chat, Albert G says that I guess he says it's the PS5 Pro has been selling really well, so good that the percentage is way up for the PlayStation brand.
It is 12% behind the PS4 Pro. Which is still pretty good if you think about it, right? It's a $700 console.
Yeah.
But that's not bad. So it's reasonable. It's reasonable. So the enthusiasts, who are the ones who are going to buy it, are buying it, and it's still behind the PS4 Pro, but again, not by a huge amount. 12%, that's not bad. So it did okay. It did okay.
Well, especially when you look at it, that's lifetime for PS4 Pro, and that's been out.
No, this is like launch window.
Launch window. It's still behind in the launch
window.
To
launch window. Yeah, launch window to launch window.
Come on, Albert. You're talking in there like it's an amazing feat, like it's selling like gangbusters, man.
Yeah, but revenue wise, because I want to say was it 400? I think the PS4 Pro.
Well, of course, revenue-wise, revenue-wise, it's going to be a big jump because they're fleecing these people who are buying that.
Right? It's so.
You could think what you want on the PS5 Pro, and if it's worth it to you, I'm not arguing that. But what I will say is, I would feel like I was getting fleeced if I bought that thing for $700. I'm sorry, I feel like they were getting over on me for $700. That's crazy. I wouldn't buy the freaking the Series X with 2 terabytes for $600. I think that's a fleece. I think they both are just too much. But that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the
flopflation. Yeah, flopflation.
It's so good.
We talked about that.
I can't believe they actually did that. So, but yeah, whatever. I mean,
man,
I guess it's reversed. Let me flip it. There you go. But yeah, so
flopflation.
Yeah, flopflation. So, but yeah, it's selling reasonably well. I don't like that's not terrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we thought, though. We even said that it was probably going to sell like the PS4 Pro. That's what we were kind of saying
in
on
that
the
range,
show.
right?
Yeah.
So
and
it's doing reasonably well.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I thought it was like, 12% behind the lifetime sales of the PS4 Pro. I'm like,
No, 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 no,
whoa, within just a few
no,
months?
no, no.
Wow.
No, launch to launch. It's just a bit behind it. That's not bad. That's not bad. But again, revenue wise, it's much higher because it's like almost twice as
No, but the way
the
Albert
cost.
G was
So
stating it in the chat was like it was an amazing feat or something. You know what, Albert? That's what you get, man. You get the death sound. That's no bueno, Albert. No bueno for that one. Yeah. We'll see. But I'm sure they're making a killing off that for the
I hope
money.
so. I assume they're
'Cause,
making money. I hope they're making money
oh
on each
gosh,
console.
they're probably making
So
$200, at least $300 probably on that console.
well, I don't know about
Walking
that much,
away.
but I'm sure they're
Oh,
making
that
something.
thing, you could buy a base model right now for like $349, can't you?
Yeah,
PS5.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, that's on sale, right? At normal, it's still
yeah.
450.
And I
But yeah,
think that is the console you'll see a lot of PC gamers
yeah,
buy
that's still.
for GTA 6. They're not going to buy
It
the
could be that one,
$700
or
Pro. They're going to buy the $350 PS5, or
yeah,
they're going to get a
especially if you're on
Series
PC,
X.
right? Because like, why would you get it for the graphic fidelity? You would just want to get it to play the games.
Yeah,
You have
because
the
if it's
PC.
not like,
You're gonna wait
if
for
it
the
doesn't
PC
have the
version.
extra performance, why the hell would you spend $700 on it?
Yeah.
That would make no sense. Yep, it's not
Yeah, I mean, I
worth it.
still think like for somebody who's on PC, get a cheapo Series S, even like secondhand, if you want to play that game, and then just wait for the PC version.
Yep.
Because that's when you're gonna get the most enjoyment out of it, anyways, right? You just wait for the PC port, and you'll be able to play it at whatever resolution you want, whatever frame rate you want when it comes out. But if you just want to play it, right, just get a cheapo Series S,
Hmm.
couple $100.
All right. We got anything else this week as far as news or
Do we have
anything?
any? Well, we missed a couple of weeks, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything major.
Yeah, we don't need to go back to last week. That's all old news.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we've had. It's been mostly, the new stuff that's coming out next week with Jason Ronald and CES, right, with Lenovo and all that stuff. We'll see what that looks like. And then the Dev Direct. There's good hints that that's coming up in a couple of weeks, right, in the third week or so, for Microsoft, the January Dev Direct. I think that's kind of it. Though Indiana
Okay.
Jones, there was potentially confirmation of a trilogy, I guess. So there's gonna be a couple more indie games. So that's kind of cool.
That's good because that
yeah.
game, apart from the whole best graphics of the year, the game itself is being acclaimed. It's
Yeah.
really good. Apparently, a lot of people love it. So
Yeah,
it's
I
one of the
couldn't put it
reasons
down.
why I'm going to
So
pick it
was
up.
definitely really, really good.
Eventually. Yeah, definitely going to try it. I got a super chat. Thank you for the $1.99, Ron. Ron G2665 says, what features do you think the 5090 will have? I have no idea. I haven't been looking into it, to be honest. Hargeet, do you know anything about that?
So DLSS 4, which apparently gives you an even more substantial boost in ray tracing. So that's all I've heard rumors about, but I don't know. But that also, by the way, is next week. We're going to be hearing about the RTX 50 series next week. So we have PC gaming stuff going on. We have Xbox gaming stuff going on. We have potentially Nintendo news. I haven't heard anything about PlayStation yet, but but there's stuff coming. So next week's going to be fun.
Yeah,
so we'll
definitely.
see what we get.
Danny Passion Official
yeah.
says Xbox rejected secret level.
Oh yeah, there's that whole thing. So apparently there was a pitch. You know, Secret Level, right? That's that television show about gaming.
Yeah,
Right. So they're
heard
like
about that.
episodes of right. So and so they had pitched to do a crossover of Doom and Halo, and Microsoft rejected it. So if you haven't heard about that, I know that's probably your first time hearing about
Crazy,
it.
it is. Yeah.
So
I've heard good things about that show. Don't know why they would reject it. But
so
it's Microsoft.
I'm with them on that, and the reason is simply first, Doom can stand on its own. Halo can certainly stand on its own. If you're gonna do a crossover, uh, what is that crossover going to be about? And then
I
who
see
owns
that.
that, right? Is that his story or is that Microsoft's story, right? And if they ever wanted to do it, do they want to do it on their own terms or do they want somebody else to have a pull on their IP, right? So would they be okay with, giving the control, of that entire whatever story he came up with back to Xbox, right? And then like, do they even want that story, right? So he's pitching something that's brand new, right? Because there is no crossover of Doom and Halo, right? So first, should those universes collide? Second, if they do collide, who owns that story? And should that story be owned by somebody outside of Xbox? So there's plenty of things where I would be very like hesitant to go down that path. If they had said, "Hey, you know what? We want to do a Halo story," fair enough, right? Because then you could say, "Fine, here's the Halo lore, and we'll work with you on what you can go ahead and say." Right, but the story is ours. It's our IP, and anything you do, it's ours. Right,
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. You can
Yeah.
do that. He's creating new stuff, and it's like, well hold on a second. So, so I would be hesitant to do it. Right, if they wanted a Doom thing, fair enough. They did Outer Worlds 2 with them, no problem. There's another problem of saying Halo already has a TV show, right?
Yeah, that's
Doom has
true.
already had movies. So it's like those IPs have already gotten to the TV realm and movie realm. So they're already out there. And if you're going to do something, what are you adding to it, right? So it's just an interesting thing and these are very big IPs, right? Halo is like S tier IP for Microsoft. Doom is pretty big, right? So do you want to mix those things, mess with them that way? So I'm very hesitant. I wouldn't mind like in a multiplayer game you do a crossover between like Fortnite has both of them. I don't care. Who cares, right? But when you're talking story, now I start to think, well, hold on a second. What are you trying to do here? Right.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant. I don't think that would be a good thing. I wouldn't have minded if they pitched something that said, we're just going to tell a Master Chief story. Okay, that works. We're going to tell like a Halo story in the past or in the future. Fine. That's totally fair. Right. But if you want to do something where you're crossing two of their major IPs, I'm going to be hesitant. Right. So, most of the other ones, I
Fair
think there's maybe
enough.
one other one. There's a crossover, but the vast majority of what they've done has been single IP at a time, which makes much more sense, right? You're telling a story within the lore. Okay, fine, that makes sense. So I'm hesitant, but that's my theory on it. That's how I took it. But whatever, right?
Yeah. No, you make a lot of sense. It makes sense. All right. With that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the show. I've had a great time talking with you, Hargi. It's good to get back into the swing of things. 2025 is
Yeah.
upon us. Next week, we should have more to talk about. 2D Realms in the chat's already said he's sold both of his kidneys, both, to get a 5090 or yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how he's surviving right now, but he's probably hooked up to a GPU right now instead of his kidneys. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to get that GPU. I get it.
Good God. I hear the prices are going to be
Yeah,
astronomical for
I
the new
saw one
GPUs.
rumored price for like the 5080 was like $1,800. I was like,
Oh my God.
what?
Which is more than like a 5090, like a
You know,
4090,
I think
sorry.
they did really bad there,
That's
though. Did
ridiculous.
you see
Like,
the
what are you doing?
5080? It doesn't even have 24 gigs of VRAM.
Yeah,
The
so
VRAM is
I don't know,
still
man.
16 gig. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's
Ah,
gonna be interesting.
not good, not good. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, there's a lot more tech in there that gets around the VRAM issue. I don't know, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Guys, thank you for showing up today live. Argeet, thank you for showing up, and let everybody know where they can find you next and all that good stuff.
So happy New Year, everyone. So tomorrow I'll be on with Web Dave. We'll be at 7 p.m. US Eastern Time on Web Dave's channel. And then we're finally back with Boom. We've been on hiatus because Wednesday was Christmas. Wednesday was also New Year's, so both of those shows were skipped. So this coming Wednesday we'll be back at 7 p.m. US Eastern Time on Double Barrel Gaming to do primetime gaming. I think that's going to be right after a lot of these things are going to be announced. We'll see what happens if Nintendo finally does their thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Nvidia will have announced their stuff. The Jason Ronald thing will have been done, so that should be a fun one. But yeah, we'll check that out, and then On Point for Gamers at Friday, and then we'll be back on Saturday. So
Yep.
there'll be a lot more fun stuff this coming week. So yeah, enjoy the news cycle. It's gonna be fun this week.
Yeah,
CES is
I'm
on. Let's
really
see what else is
interested to
gonna
see
happen.
what Jason and the team have been cooking up. I really am
Yeah,
interested
yeah,
in
yeah.
that stuff because Jason's a
So
fascinating guy to talk to. I've talked to him behind the scenes a lot, and he's a great guy. Tried to get him on the show once, but he was so busy, and plus he's got to
let's see if
go
we can get him
through.
on.
Yeah, I want to bring him on. I know he'll do it. It's just a matter of trying to um, get upper management to allow him to come do the show. That I think is the
Yeah,
big
there'll probably be some
hurdle.
stipulations and whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But
You can't have Albert G in the chat or something. That's what they'll say.
well, I don't think he's gonna care about the
No,
chat, but
I'm
we
just
can
kidding. I'm
certainly
just kidding. Yeah.
approach certain topics. But
Yeah, yeah, and
uh,
and also when he is in the middle of like building the next gen console and stuff, they don't allow them to come out and talk about it or anything like that. So it's like it's
but
hard.
they can talk about stuff that they've announced, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
of
there's
course.
going to be some stuff coming up, right? So this would be a good time, right? So over the next couple of months, if he's available, that'd be awesome. But anyways, the other thing, of course, there's my book. If you want to get it, shop.chani.us. If you want to subscribe to my channel, HardyChani1 on YouTube, have fun. So
Yeah,
until next
subscribe,
time.
make more videos. All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up live, and thank you for listening after the fact. Unfortunately, YouTube has been acting really funny for me when I stop the podcast and I go to get the video to put it up to the Spotify and stuff. It takes forever, like sometimes like 16 hours before I can download the video.